Hey, what is up guys? Guitar Rock here, welcome back to another Brown Dust video. Alright, today's the day. I'm gonna do some beginner's guide for you guys. A lot of you guys have been harassing me everywhere. Facebook, Discord, YouTube comments, asking me, what's the best way to make a formation, etc. Something related to formations for sure. There's going to be some sort of questions related to those. Alright, so therefore, today, we're gonna dive deep and cover the basics of setting up your own formation. Yeah. Alright, so first, a quick message from the sponsor. This video is sponsored by beautifulhello.com. It's a website that has thousands of beautifully designed clothing to choose from. Pepe Frog hoodie, anime girl hoodie, they have it all. And it also has free shipping worldwide, so you're gonna get your clothes no matter where you're from. Alright, make sure to insert the relevant codes to get some discounts off. Check it out, links will be in the description below. Okay, so for those of you who are new, basically to set up a formation, just click on this button right here, formation. So right here in the arena, you can always set up your formation. Ideally, this is my current attack formation for PvP. So this can be a very deep topic. So I will try to not dive too deep into this because otherwise the video will be 4 hours long. I'm literally not kidding. There's a lot of things that you should take into consideration when setting up a formation. For example, the meta that's currently going and what the meta is centered around and how to counter that few meta characters and the league you are in as well, the server you are in as well. So it's going to differ everywhere. For example, if you are on EU server or global or Asia, those units that you commonly see in each server are going to be different. And even if so, it's going to be dependent on the league as well. If you are in silver, bronze, going up to Sapphire, Ruby and Grandmaster, you're going to see slight variations in all the units that are being used. So it's not as simple as, oh, this is a good formation, just have this. Alright, so I won't dive too deep into that unfortunately, because I want to make this video as short as possible, just to cover the basics. Alright, so if you are new, you are a beginner, welcome to the channel. Alright, so let's start off the video by taking into consideration what formation you're trying to set up. Alright, there will be two formations ideally. One is an attack formation and one is a defense formation. Alright, so when you set up a formation, for example in PvP, if I go for something like this, this is your attack formation and this is also your defense formation. So whoever that attacks you will be fighting this formation. And ideally, attack formations and defense formation, it's hard to set up an ideal formation for both attack and defense. So most players, they try to have both attack and defense separate. So what is attack formation? What is defense formation? So when you attack enemies right here in the arena, if I press this attack button right here, so that means I will be using my formation, this particular formation, to attack against their formation, right? So I'm fighting this user called Rapid Star. So that means that I'm moving first. So I'm the first to go. So therefore, you can see, in this case, he is in defensive mode, I'm in offensive mode. So I will be going first and he will be moving later. Okay, so when enemy is attacking you, you will be moving second. Alright, so therefore, in certain cases, some units are better in defense formation. For example, Lacklist. Alright, Lacklist is good in defensive formations. I won't cover too deep into that, but hopefully you guys are familiar, have some sort of basic knowledge before we proceed further and understand how skills work, because that is very important. Now, some things that beginners tend to repeat the mistakes over and over again. They tend to go to the rankings right here, and they go over to the top 10 players and they just look at their formations and they try to copy. Oh, this formation, alright, I'm gonna copy this formation. It will not work. Alright, it will not work because if you copy someone's formation, number one, like I mentioned earlier, the league you're on is different. Alright, so if you are in Crystal League or if you are in Silver and Bronze League, those units that you're fighting against most likely are 4 stars. For example, Lito and Yunrang. So against formations like those, you need a different specialized formation. You can't just copy formations and expect them to work. And also skill level is going to be a different thing. So this guy clearly has Elijah, so that is just to provide concentrated fire. You can tell this is a very specialized defense formation. There's Elijah, there's Lacklist right here, alongside with Lucius. Alright, again, I will not cover too deep into that. Okay, so do keep in mind that in Arena and Novice Arena, when you click attack, you will be attacking first, you will move first. But it's a different scenario for Mystic Island and Guild Wars. In those two game modes, in battles, the enemy will always move first. Alright, Guild Wars and Mystic Island, the enemy will always move first. So Underground Arena is going to differ depending on who is moving first. Ideally, they would tell when they flip the coin, it's going to be random. But just keep that in mind. When you set up a Guild War formation, ideally, you want to remember that the opponent will be the one moving first. So if I go ahead and attack this guy called Muki Muki, for example, I'm not going to do it. Okay, so if I press start battle and I attack, the enemies will move first. So keep that in mind, right? You are not moving first, the enemies will move first. So ideally, when you are playing Guild Wars, you have to try to predict which of the opponent's units will be going first. So is it the Rafitia, Livia, or whatsoever, etc. But that's the general consensus right there. Alright, always remind yourself, Guild Wars and Mystic Island, the opponents will move first. Arena, Novice Arena, when you attack, you will be going first. Alright, with that being said, I'm going to teach you guys the basics of setting up a formation right now. So we're going to jump off into the campaign because it's much easier. The same rules are going to be applied for Arena as well. Okay, so in campaign, it's the same case. The opponent will always move first. So you can always check their turn order. In this case, this guy, the boss, Commander Hildegard, he will move first. Alright, so I just have to try to set up against that. Okay, so there are 4 categories of units. We have warriors, we have supporters, we have defenders, and we have magicians. Alright, ideally, from the first couple of turns, you want your supporters and magicians to go first. Alright, you want them to chain as much as they can, and then slowly move on to the warriors. And if you are able to chain that, it will only take 1 move before it switches to the opponent. Alright, what do I mean by that? Alright, so let's have a look. Okay, Commander Hildegard is a warrior. So that means after he attacks, it's going to be my turn. Always remember, warriors and magicians and defenders. Every time after they move, it's going to be the opponent's turn next. Alright, magicians are similar to warriors, but in round 1, they do not switch the turn order to the enemy. So basically, you can chain magicians buffs, charging up time, into supporters, into warriors. So what that means that in this case, I will have Livia. Livia is a mage. And then Rafitia is a supporter, Stella supporter, Velfern is a mage as well. So you can tell 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 5, my Taylor is a warrior. So after Taylor moves, then the enemy will move again. So remember, after warriors and defenders move for round 1, it will always switch to the enemy again. And when the enemy have their warriors, defenders move in round 1, it will always switch back to you. So keep in mind that mages will only switch up the turn order when round 2 comes, when they actually attack. So in round 1, when they're charging up, it will not switch into the enemy. Alright, so let me show you a scenario. So in this case, I know the opponent will move first. So I'm going to block that with a Cecilia. So let's do a Cecilia right there. Cecilia has AoE absorption. So this guy, clearly you can tell, is a skip. So I need to put Cecilia in skip. So that way Cecilia will absorb the AoE skill. So after he attacks, it's my turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will have Taylor hit everyone. So all of this will die. So who will move next for him? He will have Lufel as number 2. Lufel is a mage, so he will charge up. Magician number 3, Rian Republic's Royalist. This will charge up. 4 charge up. 5 charge up. And 6, Ron would have died because Taylor killed him. So who will be next? 7, Leclis would have died. 8. So most likely this Leclis will attack next. So my Livia should be able to take that hit, no problem. So let's show you guys what I mean by that. Alright, we're going to demonstrate right here. Slow it down. So he will go first, and then it's my turn. So Livia, Rafitia, alright, you can see it's still my turn. It will keep on being my turn until Taylor moves. Boom. Alright, now it's his turn again. So he will charge, because they chain the buffs, magician and supporters, and then Leclis will go. Boom. And then it's my turn. Vals goes next. Boom. Because of the taunt Leclis, so Vals hits Leclis. Alright, from this point onwards, it's quite hard to predict when it goes into like turn 15 onwards or round 2. So ideally, the same rule still applies. I'll have Livia take care of everyone, and then we will have Velfern blowing the boss up, and Vals take care of the last one. Alright, so now back to PvP. Alright, in PvP, you want to use that knowledge that you know. Basically, try to link as much supporters and magicians in round 1. Keep that in mind. Always go first with your supporters, buffing your magicians and warriors along the way. So this is very important because if you let warriors go first, then the enemies will go next and they will have chained every supporters they have. Therefore, you might end up dying, you see. So you want to give buffs first. There's a chance that your supporters might not make it to the next turn switching. Alright, so now one thing that I want to warn you beginners, do not use the auto deploy function. Never use that. So I'm serious. The auto deploy function is very bad. Do not rely on it at all in any case or situations. Just don't do it. Alright, this button right here, this auto deploy button right here. You want me to show you guys? Come. Let's see what will he give me. Wow! Rafitia Gunter! Actually recommending me to use Angelica plus 0. Okay. I have a Dalby plus 15. I have an Asmod plus 9. And he's recommending me to use Angelica plus 0. Like, come on. Just don't use the auto deploy function, alright? Please, don't use this. Alright, learn to set up your formations accordingly on your own. Okay, so best thing that you can do on the first round. Go ahead and click on the supporters and have a look which supporters you want to use. Now, many players have asked me this question before. How many supporters do you actually need in a team, in a formation? So I would say the ideal number is 2 or 3, depending on what roles they have. Sometimes 4, but I don't recommend going beyond that. Like 5 supporters, 6 supporters, that's just a bit too much, alright? Don't go crazy on the supporters. Having 2 strong supporters is more than enough. Alright, for example, if I do Mary and then Venaka, so notice Mary moves on turn 1, Venaka moves on turn 2. And then the next one, let's say you go with a warrior. Let's say you go with Duen right here. Boom. Alright, so 1, 2, 3. So Duen receives 2 buffs because notice when Mary is buffing Venaka, so Duen is in that buff range as well. And then Venaka will be buffing Duen as well. Okay, so this is a correct way to use a supporter. Always look at the buff range. Tips number 1 for new players, always try to understand the mercenaries that you have. Look at their skills, understand the range, understand as many things as you can. It's going to be hard for new players because it can get a bit overwhelming. The game has been out for a while, so there's a lot of new features. Don't worry about other people's team as much. Worry about your own one, your current units that you have. Try and study their skills and ranges so you actually know. So if I use Stella for example, Stella is a little bit different. Usually supporters will buff the next unit, right? Stella is one of the few exceptions. She has a very unique skill where she always buffs the target range behind her because of this skill right here. Alright, so fixes main support target to oneself. So in this case, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do 1, 2, 3 because Duen is not receiving Stella's buff. So either I go down here, alright, this makes more sense, right? So you shouldn't do something like this either. You should not go Venaka first, Venaka, and then Stella. That's just asking a slap in the face, like why are you doing that, right? Duen is not receiving Venaka's buff at all. So either you move Duen to the front, or you just change the attack order. Easy, just change the attack order, easiest solution of all. Okay, so let's say you decide to add a mage in there. You want to add, for example, Wester. Whoa, Wester, right? Everybody loves him, Sephiroth. Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Alright, so here's the thing. Now this is bad because 1, 2, 3, Duen goes in. And then Wester is left wasting like a charge. Wester is a magician, so he needs to charge up first. So if you want to use something like this, you should go with something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now it gets a bit complicated. Wester receives buff from Venaka but not from Stella, whereas Duen receives buffs from Venaka. Which is why most people, they do something like this. Alright, they have one magician in the middle for Venaka or Michaela. So therefore, you can place one more warrior behind the magician that you have. So they will receive 2 buffs from Stella and Venaka. Okay, so hopefully you guys understand. So supporter's range is ideally the most important thing for a supporter. Alright, so keep that in mind. Which is why Rafitia plus 12 is insane. Alright, for example, like this. So I can place Venaka there. I can place Venaka there. I can place Venaka there, they would still receive the buff. It's insane. So Raphithia, that's why she's so good, because her buff tiles are so like massive, it doesn't affect. It gives you the flexibility to switch things up and swap your characters around. Now, what if you go with a Taunter first? Let's say if you decide not to go with supporters and warriors. So you decide to go with something like a defender first. So Grandhilde goes first, and because she have a taunt, when the enemy moves next, all the firepower will be redirected towards her. I mean, this could be a strategy that you could use, but it's not as viable as it is in the higher tier arena, because once you go there, a very strong, highly buffed warrior can one-shot your Taunter. Alright, it doesn't matter who it is, either you have Cowley, Seer, whoever that it is. It might work in the lower tier arena, but once you go the higher tier, you are losing the capability to one-shot the opponents, especially getting rid of their warriors in the first couple of turns. By doing this, you're wasting that opportunity. So most of the time, it's not worth it. Now, if you go for something like a Walia, for example, then it makes sense. So Walia have taunt and will be able to help you out with what you're trying to achieve. Basically, when the enemy moves next, all the attack will redirect towards her. So if you go for something like this, for example, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that way your Walia will be able to taunt. Do not do this. Do not do this, alright? I get triggered when I see players do this. A lot of times. I see players do this. Walia buffing Stella. Stella goes. Venaka. I charge up. Dalvi goes next. Because Walia's taunt only lasts for 8 turns. When you do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you lose 5 turns. When enemy moves next, they only need to link like 4 turns of their supporters and magicians, and you're screwed. Your Walia basically has no effect on that particular round 1. Alright, don't do this. I get triggered every time I see players do this. I don't know why. So instead of doing this, go for something like this. Like this. 4, 5. So that way, when your Walia buffs Dalvi, you only lose 2 turns. Alright, Walia has 8 turns of taunt. You lose 2 turns means you have 6 turns of taunt left. And it's hard for enemies to chain supporters into magicians into warriors for 6 turns. That's quite hard to achieve because you only can have 9 units in a formation. Alright, so ideally, once you have all your warriors going in, afterwards, you want to have your defenders to do their job. For example, so ideally you will want to have your Taunter go like either in turn 8 or turn 9. The reason is because when round 2 comes, most of the time the mages would have their turn already charged up, so they are going to move first. So Taunters is meant for you to redirect the attacks from mages away from your warriors, so that they can survive for 1 more round and fight for you. So ideally you want to place your Taunters like far away from your warriors. Alright? Don't do this. Alright? I've seen people do this before. A bit triggering. Imagine you have your Grandhilde right here, or whoever that you have taunt. Like, what? Catherine is going to come and destroy your entire team. Don't do that. Alright? Do not do that. So, if you have a Taunter, always place them as far away as you can, as possible, from all the warriors that you have. Alright, so it's something that you need to take into consideration. Alright, so I think that pretty much covers it for the basics of formation. But hopefully this should be enough for you guys to have a rough idea on how to set up a formation. There's a lot of other factors to take into consideration, like the meta characters that's going on right now, the league you're currently in, the server you're currently in, etc. It's not as simple as just, oh, this is a good formation, everyone should use this. Alright, because it's never the case. So, there's always going to be some sort of counter to another formation that your formation is probably good against, but it also might have some sort of weaknesses. So keep that in mind. It's like a rock, paper, scissors thing. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I'll try my best to answer as much as I can. So if you guys want to, I might do more of this. Probably will try to dive and go into more deep and advanced stuff. I don't want to make this video too long. This is just like scratching the surface, you know, of a basics formation. And as always, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.